We're live.
Okay, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast, a live show. I'm really excited about my guest today. I have back with me my good friend, Rainetta Jones. You know, every time Rainetta's on my show, she really lights it up. She always brings the best information. So, I'm always excited when she comes on. Rainetta's like a spiritual teacher. She also removes entities. She does clearings. Her website is blacksunrise.com. So check her out and check out her YouTube page if you're not subscribed. And today, our special guest that me and Rainetta are going to be interviewing is Baba Mithra. Baba Mithra is a man of many talents, but he is specializes in plant medicine. Let me just read his bio. Born in El Paso, Texas desert, Baba Mithra began his spiritual journey when he was only 3 years old. Being an intuitive child, he talked to spirits at a very young age. Although he forgot his spiritual path for almost his adult life to pursue a family and as a father of two. His worldly occupations as an entrepreneur range from being a high school principal, a restaurant owner, a dental clinic manager, and even a brothel operator in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Before exploring his mystical calling again, Baba Mithra experienced a life-changing event in an ayahuasca ceremony. The profound experience made him readjust his life purpose to helping others realize their true mission in life. Baba Mithra is followed in the ancestral medicine way, helping and guiding people through the use of sacred medicines such as hape, toad medicine, and ayahuasca. And with all that said, I'd like to give them both a big warm welcome to the show. Rainetta and Baba Mithra, thank you so much for coming on. How are you guys?
Hey, glad to be back.
Hey,
Baba, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Oh, well, I'm Baba Mithra. First time on the show. Very happy to be here with you guys. And you already read part of my bio, so I'm just happy to share the information of my upbringing, my spiritual path so far. So I'm just happy to be here and sharing with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
everybody knows who I am. Nobody cares. Yada, 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 bullshit, nonsense. Nobody cares.
Everybody cares. What do you mean? Everybody cares who you are. We know,
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Okay.
But I mean, if you guys want, it's like, oh God, I hate introductions. It's Rainetta. You all know me. Blah, 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 blah. Let's get started. So everybody, everybody knows that Rainetta was drawn here to West Texas, and the mountains started speaking to me and telling me the ancient history. And along the way, I met Baba Mithra, who is a mountain lover as well, and he understands the language of the mountains, he understands the language of the rocks, and he's also an ancient Aztec shaman, Aztec Mayan shaman, okay? So we started to do excursions, just him and I started to do excursions to see what the rocks would tell us, what the rocks would say, because he has, as you guys know, and I've taught you guys, and if you see me turn over there, it's because I'm live streaming to my channel too, right? So let me stop talking with my hands. So what I need you guys to understand is that, which is something I taught you guys already, that the ancient grid, which was one when before the earth, the land masses were broken up, what held the earth together was a electromagnetic grid that was male, female, and it was one, and it kept the planet in symbiosis, in unity, okay? I have also taught you guys that the ancients used the mountains as books to write their story because they knew their end was coming. So now that we graduated, we're still learning about the mysteries that's in the mountains. We also graduated to another level, and it appears to me that the books, and this is why I realized why the natives got so many things right, and why the modern world gets so many things wrong, and why it's wrong to call the indigenous people primitive, because they didn't read books. I'm learning on my journey that there are books in the mountains. You can read stones, you can read clouds, you can read animals, you can read trees, you can read water. So it's not that you stop reading, it's that you're reading on a different dimension, right? So now that the mountains are beginning to trust us and they're beginning to communicate with us, they're also taking us on another level. And this level is the grid line. And that ancient grid line that I'm learning was a very powerful love field. And this goes in line too with the Bible, even though I believe the Bible was mistranslated, corrupted, and weaponized, and the translation is all wrong. But one thing that's universal is love. That is universal. That is the universal code of the creator, right? So this ancient grid was in fact a love grid, which was attacked, infiltrated, because they had to infiltrate, they had to get through the defenses because it's very hard to penetrate love. So what I learned from the mountain beings here is that they came looking like the ancients, and then the natives let them in. That, and they came through the priest class, right? And then when they came in here, that's when they brought this very low vibrational form of worship, which revolved around blood sacrifice. And that's how they were able to lower that love shield, because the love is actually a defensive weapon. It's not love as an action, it's an actual shield, it's a weapon, like an actual military weapon, right? That protected the planet. But they were able to infiltrate, weaken the shield, bring more in, and then they broke up the ancient grid. Now, why is Baba Mithra so important? Well, Baba Mithra is important to this story because in his genetics, okay, because this is another thing that I'm learning about the language of the rocks and the language of the soil, is that your genetics is not just in your body, but your genetics is in the land. And the two communicate with each other. So why is this important? It's important because his genetics is here in the land and in his body, and it brings forth a different type of communication. Not only that, his genetics also goes back to what we call Mexica, or Mexic, what you call Mexico, okay, which is actually, an indigenous word, right? And his genetics goes back to the Aztec, and his genetics goes back to the Mayans. So he can communicate with this grid on a different level. So Baba, you take it from there, and then we'll go on to our excursions and what we experienced. Go ahead.
But can I also ask one question? I wanted to ask him how he got the name Baba Mithra too, because I wonder if it had to do something with the god Mithra. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt her.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Well, through my spiritual journey, I've have also studied a very ancient theology, and for me, learning about Mithraism meant some type of revival, of old memory, and it just makes sense to me. One time, I was just wondering, well, I how I'm gonna rename myself, and just out of nowhere, I just came up with the name Baba Mithra. Baba, of course, means father, and in most of my journeys as a spiritual guide, I have either connected with the spirit of people's dead fathers. So to me, I felt very natural to get that name, because I have that very fatherly energy when I'm guiding people through their journeys. So
That's
yes, it has to
amazing.
be with Mithraism. Yes. So
That's interesting.
as I
Yeah.
was saying, meeting Rainetta has been, oof, it's been a handful of experience. It's been super powerful. Um, I never actually experienced the language of the mountains until I was there with her. And I guess together there was some type of energy that the mountains just started speaking to us in a very special in a very unique way that we both felt in tuned. So talking about how the information from the grid, uh, we say that we have to read to understand, but the ancient language was about more, it was more telepathic. So I think in some sense, just by us being there, we just get the information downloaded from the energy of the mountains itself, and we're just getting downloads. We're there, and then we get an information. She gets a message, I get the same message as well. And to me, that has been mind blowing because I've never met someone that we can share the information. She gets part of it. Sometimes I get the other half. Sometimes we both get it together. And it's been just mind blowing how we've been working in tandem through our journeys in the mountains.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And
So, mhm.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, Rob, go ahead. Take it away.
I was going to say, like, what messages have you guys gotten from the mountains? Like, what is the most important thing that the mountains are trying to tell you guys at this point in time? Like,
Okay, well, it was a personal. I think the best way to do this is to talk about the experience. How about we talk about us going to the first mountain journey?
Yes.
We could say the name. The only thing is certain pictures the ancestors in that area said to me, I'm cleared to talk about what we went through. However, there are certain pictures because people just don't have respect. Sorry, I have to say this. I can take the pictures, but I'm not allowed to publish certain pictures on a certain side of the mountain. The rest I can. So, Baba, you tell the people, you start off with the journey to Hueco tanks. Go ahead. And I'll put up the pictures.
Okay, sure. So once we got to Hueco Tanks, what we started to notice at first was the very unique landscape of the rock itself. Um, we noticed that those types of damage to the rock were not naturally occurring. And it seems like the rock got hit by either some type of laser weapon, some type of laser fire or cannon, and it's over the place. We noticed that there was a great war or battle that was fought in those mountains just because of just noticing the landscape, um, that felt like a war zone. So that was the first idea that some type of battle or just a lot of bloodshed got spilled in that area. That was the first message that we got as soon as we got there, and as soon as we started climbing in, we also noticed a very different type of energy in a special place that we found out it was a burial site. Rainetta, why don't you share your experience of this place?
Sure. Okay. So hold on. Let me just move this over to the side. Okay. So when I went with Baba Mithra, we went to the place and I said, oh my God, the moment we pulled up, you see that that particular rock was in fact a being that melded into a rock formation. That's when we're going into Hueco tanks, right? So then we started to traverse up the mountain, and there was a part of the mountain where we sat by the lookout, and we just sat there quietly. But before we sat, we just stood there in awe of these mountains. Like, oh my God, every single rock was cut, hewn with a laser. Now, when you go to the park, if you ever go there, that is not the story they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you this was caused by lava. But when you look at how that mountain was, each individual rock was cut, you can tell that the rock was cut and it was actually put in place by something. When you also get there, you will see a rock being looking at you with two eyes, nose, and a very long, like a snout, kind of like a snout. Remember when I said to you, that's a being. That's not a rock when we were pulling in, right? And then,
Right.
okay, so when we were standing up by the first lookout, we got to the top and we got to the first lookout. All of a sudden, Baba Mithra said something. He goes, this is what I wanted to show you. And then the wind passed by the two of us and literally said, welcome.
Welcome.
So he
Now,
goes,
now at this point,
yeah,
she tells me, "Did you hear that?"
yeah,
And then
yeah.
I said, "When said welcome," and she's like, "Yes, I just hear that too." And it was amazing, For the first time, I said, "Did you hear that?" You go, "Yes, I hear it loud and clear."
I mean, it was so clear, the welcome. The wind just passed by us. And I jumped and I looked at him, and he's like, welcome. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, we're accepted, right? Because you want to make sure that when you go into these places, they accept you. Because this particular land is Apache, and I think it's other tribes. It's mainly Apache. This is Apache ancestral land. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to touch anything that you shouldn't touch, especially anything that there's illustration or any pottery. You don't want to take stuff. So I think one of the reasons why the ancestors of that land were so loving towards us is, one, it's in his genetics, and two, they saw that we had respect. So they were very loving towards us. I don't think they may not be that way if people are arrogant, right? So we sat there for some time when the rocks came alive. And I said to him, I said, listen, they're waking up. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, the rocks, they're waking up, right? So he goes, okay, show me. So he starts seeing the rocks wake up. I start seeing the rocks wake up. Do you mind if I share my screen so you guys could see some of what we caught? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me share my screen. All right, let me know.
I'm going to add it right now.
Okay, great. All right. So this is one of the rocks that woke up, right? To you, it looks like, hey, there's nothing here, right? But watch this. Watch this. All right, let's make this bigger. Is it beginning to make sense now?
You see the elongated head?
Exactly. That's an Atlantean, clear as day. Do you see the eyes? Eyes?
Yeah.
Nose? Mouth? And then elongated skull?
Yeah,
you guys
that's amazing.
This rock was one of the first rocks that woke up. But when it woke up, I need you to see this, right? When it woke up as a ship that crashed, right? Is everyone seeing it?
Not yet. You need to actually zoom out the whole.
Okay, let me zoom all the way in so you could see the being that landed here. Okay, and let me do the markups, because sometimes we need to do the markup so people can see, because this is why I train people to see, right? Okay, so this is one of his eyes here. This is another eye here. This is a nose. This is his mouth. And this is his head.
Oh, wow.
You see him?
No, I've been there before, and it wasn't until I went with Rainetta that I was opened to these beings that are sleeping in the rock, and they just don't just open to anyone.
Yeah. And I think that, he does look like a Homer Simpson. He actually does. And he does have Homer's head. So which means that the Simpsons made Homer this stupid, bumbling, fumbling, whatever. But no, actually, Homer's design, and I've seen Homer Simpson's design in Ancients before, they're mocking the elongated skulls.
Wow,
And
I never thought of
yes,
that. That would
they
be
are.
typical as The Simpsons because there's a lot of truth in The Simpsons. There's a lot of like reveals and stuff like that. Like there was one about 9/11 and all kinds of stuff. It's
Yeah, and they mock us. And this is what I said to people. I said, because we descended from the elongated skulls. And the elongated skulls are a super advanced civilization. They're not stumbling, fumbling, bumbling idiots. But what the Simpsons do is it makes fun of the human race and makes us look stupid. You understand? And
yeah.
Conehead is another television series that made fun of the Coneheads, and they're in fact highly intelligent, right? And funny enough, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incas all told you that there were elongated skulls in this area, the Paracas skulls. So this is where he in particular landed. But what he revealed to me is an Egyptian connection, and I'd like to show you guys that. So everyone sees him, right? Okay. So let me see if I can get a better picture here. This is the same rock. The same rock. Now, one of the things when you look at these rocks, when they start waking up, this is why you have to learn to read them. What you see at like 1 o'clock, you're not going to see at like 1:05 because it's like a book. When you start reading, the first chapter and the first page is not the same as the 10th page, second chapter, right? So it reads as a book. So as they were starting to wake up, they started to show what this rock was. And one of the first things they revealed, and this is where I spoke to Barbara, I said, oh my God, that's a spaceship. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, tell the story, and then I'll explain afterwards.
Well, we were at the lookout still. We were just getting all the information from the rocks, and we just noticed that it was this large lump of rock that it seemed like a whole unit that was maybe 40, maybe 50 feet wide, maybe even wider. And it was this massive um, formation that together it looked like a spaceship. So uh, Renetta said it crash landed there, but I told Renetta, you know what? I think maybe there was a big explosion right there and it just fossilized in place because it didn't look like it crashed. It looked like it was landed there and it was just fossilized in place.
That's exactly what he said, right? So watch this. So as we're watching the ship, because when it first woke up, it woke up as a ship. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I didn't get the picture where I captured it as a ship, but it's the same rock, right? Now let's look at the shadow. I want to show you something. Now they're telling you that there was a female line and a male line in this area that came on this ship. Look at this shadow. Do you see the male in the shadow? Let me know if I need to mark up. Let me mark up so you guys can see the male. This is the male.
Yeah.
This is his eye. This is his nose. This is his beard. Okay. And this is his head. Okay.
Mhm.
You guys see the male in the shadow?
Yeah.
Let me clear.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Okay. That's not a coincidence when you're reading, and this is his neck, and his neck goes down here. Everyone sees the male. Now let me show you the female, right? And let me clear. Now, this race, it tells us that the male and female were one, but the male had a hierarchy above the female. Now, this is what's interesting about the female. This is the female. She has an elongated head wrap. She's in the male, which tells me they're married. She wears a Nefertiti headdress. This is her neck. This is her forehead. This is her nose. This is her mouth. Do you see her?
Mm-hmm.
And this is her eyes. And this is her Nefertiti head wrap. And she's looking down like this.
You can almost see hair too, it looks like, you know? Like,
but it's an
you really
elongated
like look, I
skull.
don't know.
Yeah.
She's looking
And
southwest.
it's weird, like the features on the female look smoother. If that makes any sense, you know? A little
Yeah.
bit. Like,
Yeah.
But does everyone see the female?
I do.
I do, yeah.
Okay, Marge Simpson. You know, Marge Simpson would, but they're mocking them. But these beings are not low-level, low-intelligence beings. They're not, right? Let me just remove this part, right? You see, okay, someone said, Christy said, I see the baby there too. Where's the baby? Okay, so this is the second thing that came through, and they came through in shadows. So whatever landed on that craft, they're telling us, they showed us in shadow, this is what came through on that craft. It's a female. The female is lower, the head is bigger, and then there's a male, and the two of them are obviously married, right? So let's cancel this out. Cancel. Let's go back to crop. Let's erase. Oh, oops, markup. Now, hey, what's going on here? Okay, now that's the shadow. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The other thing that started to show up is, I'm not sure what to make of this, but I'm going to mark it up and you tell me, because they already showed us the being on the craft. Now, this to me looked like a pharaoh, okay? But it also looked like the Maori statues with the elongated skulls on Christmas Island, okay? Look at the nose. Are you seeing it?
I see it. Yeah, I see the face.
Yep. Oh. Are you guys seeing it?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to make of this. So this is one of the final beings that came through. Easter Island, thank you. Easter Island, sovereign cosmic wildman. Okay, this is the third being, and this being to me looks somewhat part machine, part man, because of this jaw that comes out like that. That's not human.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Darth Vader. You know Darth Vader, the helmet he wears?
Yeah.
The part that comes out like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not a normal human jawbone. See the nose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see your nose. Yeah.
Okay, so what's this jaw? This jaw is not, it's not human. So I'm like, okay, this looks like it's something technotronic. So could it be what's driving the craft? Could it be the AI that's propelling the craft? Okay, so
Okay.
this is the third one that came out. Okay, Andromedan said there's another face. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll post the pictures to Facebook and you guys can highlight the faces inside. I mean, this is another face up here too. This is another face up here that I cut off too. So this is another one. This is one of the first mountains that woke up, that began to communicate with us that this is a crash site, right? But remember, I didn't take a lot of pictures in this area because I felt like the ancients said it's a sacred site and let them give me permission. But they told me I'm clear to show these. So what happened next, Baba, when we got up and we went through the two giant stones that were leaning on each other like this? Go ahead.
Well, we started walking, and there was this big boulder underneath those two rocks. So there were two rocks, kind of like in a pyramid shape, like this. We went through the middle part, and as we're walking through that pathway under the rocks, we touched one of the boulders that was exactly underneath, and as soon as we both touched them, we heard like it was hollow. So how can a rock that big? Because this is a just a giant, maybe 5 ton rock, or heavy, huge rock in the middle. And how could it be hollow? We started knocking on the rock, and then after knocking it and just hearing the hollowness echo inside, Renata said like, "Oh my gosh, I know what this is." And then we both at the same time acknowledged that it was some type of sarcophagus inside the rock. So she felt an energy that somebody was being bothered by the knocking, and we just decided to stop. But I mean, it both shocked us that it was a huge rock and it was hollow as you would knock on it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So we're standing there. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but we're standing there and we're walking through, and all of a sudden, remember the massive wind came through?
Oh yeah, I remember the
Yeah,
wind. Yeah.
yeah. This massive wind tunnel came through, and it was like, whoa. And then we were talking, and I said, this place is, I said to him, I said, this looks like someone put this together because it's these massive 20-ton boulders, one here, one there, and then a perfect entrance and a perfect exit for wind to go through. I said, but, and then there's a walk, and then the rock sits dead in the center and a perfect walking space around it. So we were like standing in there talking, right? Anyway, so we touched the rock, and then all of a sudden we hear like this, an echo. And we're like, oh my God, this is a boulder. We're like, this is a solid, the rock must have been half the size of this rock. Okay. Or maybe like from here, because this is huge. This is huge. Maybe like from here down here. That's how it's a big rock.
Yeah.
But it was hollow. So we were like, knock, 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 knock. And then the entity that was sleeping inside of the rock was like, stop that. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, sorry, 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 like literally. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you're in there? I swear to God, this happened. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I told him, I go, there's something in there. And he said, stop that. And I literally heard his voice. He went like, stop that. Oh, did you remember before we went into that burial site for some sort of king or some sort of whatever? Do you remember there was another cave? You remember that cave? And we had to bend all the way down.
Yeah.
And inside this little cave was this one little rock-like platform with a beam of light coming down on it. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that place.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that one.
Well, it was it's between the mountain. It's a little cave, and there's just enough breakage in the top to have some sunlight come through. So it kind of feels like a meditation place with this little boulder in the middle, just for someone to sit in. We decided not to go in. Remember why? Can you hear me?
Yeah, because
Oh,
I remember I was like, I said, this looks like where the ancients came to connect, and you were like,
oh, that's right.
is that correct? Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah, we
Yeah,
we we thought it was a chamber for maybe a portal or a place where someone would either go inside the mountain or get outside their body and kind of transport somewhere. So we felt it was a little portal place.
okay. Did anyone ever watch Stargate SG-1? Press one if you ever watched Stargate
Yeah.
SG-1.
Yeah.
Okay. You know when the rings come down, but they have to stand in a certain place?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that area where they stand in that place before the rings come down? That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And if you look up, there's one little hole. So these massive boulders were put there, and there's a tiny hole that goes up, and there's a little elevated platform for you to stand on.
That's
So
right.
it looked like, and it was very secret. You have to bend down and kind of like crawl to get in there. So it looked to us like this is where the ancients went to travel. Literally, the first gate we encountered. Yeah, but we didn't go in because we're like, we're not sure if you go in, how to get back out. So we didn't go in. Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, at this point, we were in charge territory. We were just being careful of because things starting opening up. We start seeing these places, and we just like, okay, if we are feeling we shouldn't go in right now, let's just take it slow. There's a lot of other places to explore right now, so we just leave that on the in the back of our heads, and we just kept exploring. But yeah, at this point, we were super cautious because we just started to get all this information about this place, and we decided to take it slow. We didn't want to end up in a place where we couldn't come back, right?
Right, because we didn't have the keys. We were welcome there. So we thought, since the ancestors came, greeted us, the mountains woke up, they started to communicate with us. For whatever reason, the flies would not leave me alone. I mean, they were just like white on rice, but I think it's because I was wearing cocoa butter. So it was, oh my God, they were like stuck on me like glue, chasing me all over the mountains.
Yeah.
But we were like, you know what? Let's go slow because, and let's not go in there. It's clearly a place where they went to travel. It's on the inside, even though there's like massive boulder around it, the inside was this beautiful sky blue color. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, super peaceful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one light came down. I said, oh my God, this is a portal, right? Okay, so let's get back to the creature. So the creature, we disturbed the creature. I apologized immediately. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he was just like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So I was like, okay, sorry, sorry, sorry. So we go through the portal. Before he left, he gave us this massive gust of wind while we were leaving. Massive gust of wind came through. So we walked out there. As we walked out, both of us immediately saw a rock over a dry riverbed, right? So we said, okay, let's walk back. Oh, before we got there, I'm sorry. We see this massive boulder with a small opening underneath. We walk close to the boulder, and out of nowhere, this bee comes. We go, oh my God. So we look at the boulder and we go, there's something under there because the same flat, smooth, like someone smoothed the rock, and it formed a long bed. So when I said, I said, look at this. I said, this looks like a bed. So Baba bent under and says, look. So under the bed, where the bed is like this. Above the bed, where the rock, the massive boulder is hanging, are all these ancient Apache symbols. You take it from there.
Yeah. So as soon as we saw we saw one of those ancient drawings there, we saw a mask. So it make to us no sense having a mask on the top. because you need to kind of lie down on the rock, which is on the lowest part. And if you would lay there looking up, you would see the writings, which was a mask. I remember the mask being very clear. And we just thought that it was maybe a secret entrance to somebody or somewhere. It was very mysterious, the way it was placed just on top of the rock. And at this moment, there was this bee that kept flying in circles. And as soon as we both get the attention to the bee, it started going into a hollow rock. But instead of going inside, and there was no nest inside. So, I mean, we figured, okay, well, it's going inside its nest. But it was just a little hollow place. And the bee kept just flying in circles around it, kind of like it was telling us uh, something about that special place. Maybe if you would touch it somehow with a certain key, something would open. But we both felt that the bee was giving us some information about that specific place, right?
That's so true. And the bees, in ancient history, the bees are the guardians because of the hive, right? So what was interesting is I said to him, I said, wait, hold on. I said, this looks like a bed. And then Baba said, I know what this is. And he goes, what? He said, they go under here and then they lay. So when they time travel, depending on the type of travel, and I think this is a travel, the bed, when there's a bed, that's a travel to the ancestral realm, where the other portal is you're standing vertical. And I think you could travel probably to another planet, or you go to inner earth, or you travel to another dimension. But this one, where the masks were, was a smooth, I mean, you could tell someone built this, right? It was a smooth bed. The bee came, right? And what the bee did is we were saying, we said, hold on. I said, I think there's a way to activate this. Remember, that's when the bee showed up, right?
Yeah.
And then the bee came out of nowhere, and then the bee started telling us how to activate it. And the bee was literally making this sound like,
Yeah,
lit
man.
up
I was there. It was
the
it was not natural for a bee to do that pattern just for us in a hollow space. So it was very unusual.
the hole was about this big, and inside the holes were little holes, and it was carved out at the back. So kind of like this, right? Carved out. The bee came out of nowhere. Meanwhile, we're standing above where this ancient bed is, right? He comes out of nowhere and starts going like this. And his sound echoes throughout the entire mountain. So we turned to each other and goes, that's the key. That's the key to get in there, right? So we're like, oh my God, that's the key. But then we turn to each other like, yeah, that's the key to get in. But if we figure out this key, we may not get out. So we were like, no, right? So
Yeah.
what we opted to do is be both. This is where it gets really powerful. We said, you know what? What we did is we just touched not the ancient drawings. You cannot touch the ancient drawings. You cannot touch it. You cannot touch it. You cannot touch it. You cannot touch it. That is a no-go. What we did is we touched a part of the rock. He put his hand. I put my hand. We touched the rock. Let me tell you, that rock went through my body and went through his body, and the whole area activated. So we didn't realize that the whole area activated and a giant portal opened up. So we just basically said, thank you. We said to the ancestors, thank you, thinking, oh, that was it. So we started to walk down where the ancient riverbed was. All of a sudden, my spirit said, turn around. I said, Baba, now watch this. Remember what I taught you guys? I taught you guys it is the sun. There's a reason why all the ancients of the earth worship the sun, because the sun is the one who opens the gates. The sun is the one who opens the books. When you want to read the mountains, the trees, the rivers, the lakes, the sun is the one who opens the books. So we're walking down this little trail where the ancients walk, and we get to this part where the riverbed is, and the sun is now breaking the mountain directly in front of us. Something says to me, Rainetta, turn around. I tap Bob on his shoulder and I go, look, tell them what you saw.
It was this giant triangular pyramid shaped portal. It was cut perfectly on the sides. It seemed like a giant door. And I was there before, and I've never noticed it before until I went with Rainetta. So, I mean, at this point, I'm just looking at it and say, how is this possible? How is this giant triangular shaped door inside this side of the mountain, and nobody has noticed it before? Right?
Not even the caretakers of the park know that that door is there.
Did you take a picture of this?
No, these are the parts that I didn't touch because I needed to get clearance.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't touch it, but I want to show the people what this door looks like. You are never going to believe this, right? Watch this. This is exactly what the ancient door looked like. Okay, let's just save this now. All right, let me present.
Okay.
Are you guys ready? Press 1 if you're ready to see what this door looks like. Press 1 if you're ready to see what this door looks like. Not even the caretakers in the park know this door is there.
This is in West Texas, guys. Everybody's asking what national park is that?
Hueco, thanks.
Hueco
Okay.
tanks. Yeah.
This is what the door looks like. Bring me in, Rob.
Okay. It didn't pop up yet.
Okay.
Oh, there it did. Just popped up now. I got you.
Exactly. The
Oh,
angle.
it's messing.
The angle.
Sorry.
Yeah. The angle of the door, massive. It looks like this tall pyramid, exactly as we're seeing right here.
Wow.
That was the shape of it.
Exactly. With an eye. Tell them about the eye in the dead center of the door.
Yeah, there was also carved what looked like an eye in the middle center.
And tell them that the pyramid had a lower half and an upper half, just like this.
Yeah. And there was a little tree, remember? A little branch coming out of the peak.
Yep. All the way at the top.
Yeah, so this actually goes up to the highest peak of the mountain on one of the sides.
So we're sitting on the opposite side. No, we're still standing like, oh my God. Then, as the sun begins to slowly move west, from the door comes out a Native American Apache chief. Tell them.
That's right. On the side, you could tell this giant boulder as an Apache chief. It had this characteristic face of just an Apache chief tribe leader uh, carved into the rock.
As the sun began to move west, the Apache chief and the eye turned into the eye of the Apache chief. Do you see how old this symbol is?
Yeah.
Coming out of the pyramid, that is someone lasered. How tall, tell them how tall this pyramid door is. It's a door. It's a pyramid door. How tall is it?
35 feet, 40 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it must have weighed, what, 20 tons?
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. Perfectly shaped triangular cutout in the mountain, and if it perfectly entered all the way from the bottom to the top on that side. So at this point, Renetta told me, "Hey, are you acknowledging this? Am I imagining this? Are you seeing this too?" I go like, "Yeah, I'm seeing this too." So at this point, we figured, okay, what if we, with our energy or with just being together, we just open or activated this so it showed up, and we were looking across it from the dried up riverbed, and we just decided to go toward it. And
Oh,
as
before, tell them about what happened before when you were staring into it. And then we had to get up because the ancestors said, they're telling you go over there. Tell them that part.
okay, well, at this point, uh, Renetta says, "Well, this is connected to your ancestry. You need to look at this store in this angle right now at this point in time." And I thought it was about 6 o'clock p.m. around this, and we figured out we needed to just walk there. But as soon as we started moving slowly, there was this massive energy that it started to drain our bodies. Remember that? I started feeling a huge weight in my chest, and then Renetta's head started to hurt a lot on the shoulders. Remember, we just couldn't move. We felt like we had like a ton of bricks in my chest and in our backs. So we figured that we must have activated some type of energy portal that was releasing, and then our body was perceiving it in a very strong way. We just needed to take a moment to breathe before getting closer.
Yeah, when we were over on the ancestral side, right? So he was staring into, I said, listen, I said, I think this is connected to your ancestry. And I said, I'm not sure, but there's something with your eyes because his eyes look like gates. If you ever meet him, you'll see that his eyes literally look like stargates, right? And I'm like, there's something to this with your eyes and this door. I said, do you mind staring into it for a couple of seconds? So he meditated steering, right? At about 5 minutes, I started to get like, bzz, 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 and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? He goes, Renetta, are you okay? I go, no. He goes, why? What happened? I said, I think we're supposed to move. So then the ancestor said to me, not here, honey. They're telling you you belong over there. And then he goes, I said, listen, I said, I don't know. The ancestors told me we don't belong here. You should be
Yeah,
over there.
yeah,
Right. So when we moved over there, he goes, you realize that area we were was a burial ground. I said, oh my God. Remember that?
yeah. I
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So we were literally sitting on a sacred Native American burial ground, but we didn't know. But then we apologized. Said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." They go. Then the wind blows, and the wind is like, "It's okay. They have a message for you over there." So that's when we got up, and when we moved towards the mountain, I said, "Oh my God, it's opened." The portal of the entire mountain opened. We didn't do anything, okay?
Really?
Because we did not do anything to open it. It opened and it welcomed us. But when it opened, now that door didn't open. If that door opens, that's a whole other story because I don't think that door has been open for tens of thousands of years, and we'll explain that later. But the energy field for the knowledge to come through, that's what opened.
yeah,
So because it was closed for so long, the energy was so heavy. And not to mention, that area is where the ant people took the Native Americans deep underground. Remember when the ant people started showing up?
oh
And let
yeah,
us,
I remember
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Tell them about the ant people showing up. And that's when we realized, oh my God, the ant people who took the Native Americans deep into the inner earth to protect them from the flood. Tell them about that. Let me tell you about the door.
we just started to notice again in the rock in the distance, and it started to form creatures that looked like ant people. So at this point, Renetta's telling me, yes, the ant people were the ones that protected the people from this area from the flood. They took them deep in the mountains, and we just started noticing just huge ant people with the round eyes around the rock. We noticed maybe two, maybe three different creatures with the huge bold eyes and the antlers like this. So again, it started to show up slowly in a way that we didn't notice them before until that point.
Oh, that's when we were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is really a door. So we get into the field and he had to go discharge some of the energy, right? So when he went to go discharge the energy, the ancestor said to me, come, sit here. So I sat there and then I lifted my head and then they had these symbols carved into the mountains, but I couldn't decode the symbols. So when he got back, I said, hey, listen, your ancestors showed me these symbols. I'm not, I don't know what these symbols mean. So he decoded the symbols, right? But then I said, hey, listen, I said, something said to me, don't sit back. The ancestors said to me, don't sit here. So when I got up, I turned around, there was a dead cacti plant. I said, oh, they don't want me to sit here. So I said to them, where am I going to sit? All of a sudden, I looked. You got to tell them the story. You got to tell them. You got to tell them. Remember the throne?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, as soon as she's telling me this information that's getting through her, and she tells me like, "Where am I gonna sit?" And then she looks at a certain direction, and she starts laughing and says, "Hey, what do you see there?" It was this massive, well, not massive, but it was a decent size, medium, like chair, like throne boulder on front of the gate, and it's perfectly cut into this seat that made it look like a throne. We didn't notice that specific stone going that way, but as soon as we came the other way, we just noticed it right there. So, like, how can we miss this throne-like stone? So, we decided to sit, and it had two different levels, like for two people. So it made perfect sense for us both to sit in, looking looking in front of the gate and just staring at that from that specific part. And it was just perfectly cut, just like the picture we see here. But it had two different levels. One was like for a tall person, and then one for a shorter one. Which I figure, well, I should take the shorter one, and then you should take the tallest one because you're taller than me. So we both sat at the throne, just staring at this giant gate, and it got to attention that it needed to be there. It wasn't random that it was just in front of this giant gate. So that had a very particular meaning for both of us.
Rainetta, where did you find this picture at? This is amazing.
Yeah, this is the Palenque astronaut, what they call an astronaut. But what's interesting about this ancient Mayan, because remember, his bloodline is Mayan and Aztec, and what's the other one? Tiwa? Tiwa? Is it
Is
Tiwa?
that
Uh,
Toltec maybe, or
that could be
Your
well,
tribe.
Aztec, Mayan,
No,
Olmec.
this is Mayan, but what's your bloodline? He's
Oh, okay.
Aztec
Yeah,
Mayan.
I have
Yeah,
Tiwa blood in my veins. Yeah.
yeah. So what's interesting about this picture is remember the first cave that we told you about, and it had the stew, it had the rock, it was elevated off the ground, a perfect shape, and it was inside of this blue room, one stream of light coming down. Remember we told you that, and it illuminated this beautiful blue, and we said that's a gate. It's the color of Isaac's photo, that color blue, right? The stone looks exactly like what he's
yeah?
seated on, right?
Yeah, perfectly
Wow.
cut stone.
Yeah. Remember when we told you about the bed where they laid down and they stared into the mask? The second one that was perfectly cut looks just like what he's sitting on. Now the rock, which was a throne, the part where he sat was perfectly cut like this. And I think because that's so old, the higher part went through some wear and tear. I mean, we're dealing with stone, right? And I mean, it was perfectly cut for the seat, perfectly cut for the back. And this is the crazy part. You could sit and face the sun setting. You could also sit, turn the other way on the same seat and face the Stargate. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just sat there like the two. I was like, oh my God, that's a throne. I was like, oh my goodness. And then we just knew what to do. And he sat, I sat, and I'm like, okay, we just sat. And I was like, that's it. It looks like this without the telescope, without this part. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then he sat and then faced the gate. Okay. So after that part was done, I said, hey, listen, I think the gate is the pyramid. It's a pyramid gate. It's a pyramid and the gate for the Apache chief to come through, like a major Apache chief. He's the one that came through the gate. So I think it's the founding father of the Apache comes through that gate. Okay. So we were led to go touch the gate. And somebody said to me, look down. When you look under, right? I have to tell you, this gate hasn't been opened in millions of years. Okay, this thing is millions of years. We've been lied to. I'm going to say it again. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. And they told you that the entire earth was covered in water. That's a lie because the flood didn't touch up here. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah. The flood did not get all the way up there. They lied. Okay, we just have to come to terms with the fact that they lied, right? And he actually showed me where the flood waters reached. It did not get that high, right? So somebody said to me, look under the gate, and under you could literally see this is a gate. But then the last part of the gate was covered in dirt. I said, this hasn't been opened in a while, right? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Because there was dirt and branches and sediment underneath, but like to the left of it, you could see. Let me tell you how incredible this thing is. I don't know how this gate, okay, you know when you open your door to your bedroom or your bathroom, there's a little opening at the bottom so the door doesn't mark up your floor? That's the underneath of this gate.
Yep.
There's a tiny little crack underneath. And I'm like, hold on. How is this thing holding on without falling over? There's no nails. There's no nuts. There's no bolts. There's no doorknob. Okay? And it's sitting perfectly there, unopened, thousands of years. Go ahead, Baba.
Well, at this point, I'm just overwhelmed with the information, and we just feel that we need to touch the stone, touch the gate to get maybe some more downloads as messages. So we both decided to touch it. Um, at this point, I'm still feeling overwhelmed with all the energy. I'm still feeling very, start to feel tired in my shoulders, and we were just standing there when some birds started flying out, and at that point, Rainetta said, "Okay, those birds are telling me that somebody is coming, so we have to go." But prior to that, um, Rainetta says, "Hey, I getting a message." Oh, well, the message that I decode for her was a symbol of a circle carved into the stone, and it had two lines going separate ways. And how I decoded it was that there was one at first. I mean, long time ago, there was this bloodline that got split into two. So I'm thinking there, hey Renetta, maybe you have a bloodline, and then I have another one that we just come from the same one that we just split, but we have the same common ancestry. So at that point, that's how I decoded that message to her, and then she said it made sense. But how am this my bloodline being African? How does it relate to this place? Right? We got the answer to that later on before we got off that place. But at this point, we decided it was time for us to go because the park closes at 7. And even though we didn't have the exact time, we both turn off our cell phones. We have no watches. We're just going off from instinct. That was around 7, and that was the time where the park closes. So as soon as the bird came up and started making a squeaky noise, Renata said, "It's time for us to go because somebody else is coming." So I said, like, okay, let's go. Like this is a good hike for me. Like this is this is a lot of information. So yeah, let's hit the road. And as soon as we started heading out to the place where there's a little chain fence, so you can climb down easily, we saw six small goats, which are called Ogdad, right? And Renetta got startled because of it, because for her, seeing a goat is maybe a negative message or a negative, so I said, like,
No,
no, no,
not
we're good.
negative. They're feisty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I
feisty
mean,
animals.
yeah, it was feisty. Yeah, she said, "Oh yeah, those are fussy," and then she figured that they might try to, maybe hit us or. But I said, no, no, don't worry about it. They're friendly. So, as soon as I started hitting that way, they just moved away from the way down, and as soon as we got to the peak going down, we saw the park rangers that were waiting for us, so they can close the park. So we're at this point at the top of the mountain, and they were at the way to the bottom. So it made sense that, okay, that's why you interpret the message of the bird that somebody else was coming. It was the park rangers that were coming our way because they were ready to close the park, right?
Yeah, the bird came, and the way the bird was acting, because the bird was mainly communicating with Baba Mithra,
Yeah,
right? For me,
yeah,
it was just the ancestors, right? So when the bird came, and the bird was talking, remember when I started talking and the bird flew by and said, "Shut up!"
yeah,
Remember? So we did not finish getting the message. The ancestors, I think it's the main chief who founded the Apache, right? So I was talking to him and telling him, hey, this is what was going on. The bird flew past and was like, shut up, we're not done. I was like, oh my God, you know? So yeah. The birds really are messengers. And remember, the Apache they wear a bird feather in their cap, right? So it makes
yeah.
perfect sense, right? So then when it was time to go, the bird came back again, and I said, someone's coming. I said, I think it's time because we lost track. Listen, tell them about what happened with the time. The time literally disappeared on us. Okay.
Yeah, we
Like,
we we lost track of time. We never know how many hours we spent there. It felt maybe like 30 minutes, but once we reacted to it, it was been like 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours,
it was 7 hours. We got there like 1.
7 hours.
We got there 1.
Oh my gosh, it
We
felt like an hour. We were there, maybe 2 hours.
Yes.
That's how it felt.
Yep, literally,
Yeah,
we lost track of time,
yeah,
and we may have traveled. Okay, so we get out from there, past the tomb, past the sarcophagus where the ancient is sleeping, came out of there back to the entrance. All of a sudden, these 6 goats, and I mean rammed horned goats. And I don't know, it's not that I don't like animals. I'm a Capricorn. But goats are feisty animals. You always have to keep your eyes on them because they'll just run up and hit you. I know this for a fact because I grew up with goats. Okay. I grew up around goats, not with them, but around them. They fight the animals, right? So I was like, oh my God, what did we do? Two of the goats were blocking the exits. I go, I look at them, I go, and then the goat was startled, and then he goes, Rainetta, they're fine. They're fine. I said, oh, okay. So when I put my hand down, the goats, just all six of them, they just looked at me like, they looked at us like, so peaceful. They were so peaceful. I go, these are the most peaceful goats I have ever encountered. So anyway, we get down the mountains and she goes, oh, I saw you guys met our Ogdads. And I was like, Ogdads, right?
Yeah.
Ogdads, right. So I go, Ogdads? I go, what are
And,
Ogdads? She goes,
and
oh,
this
they're
is the
the
park
most
ranger. This is the park ranger that was ready to help us
close
get
apart.
down so they can close the gate.
Yeah. So she goes, oh, they're just the most aggressive African goats. I'm like,
You know, African.
African? She goes, yeah. They imported these African goats. She's like, they're the most aggressive species. They eat everything. They kill all the other animals, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they're aggressive? And she's like, yeah, they're aggressive. They destroy the land. They eat everything. They kill the other animals. We have to hunt them because then they'll multiply and they'll kill everything and eat everything. She goes, they're the most aggressive African goats. I'm like, did you say African? She's like, she's like, yeah, African. So that was by the way, my sign is Capricorn, which is a goat. So when the ancients told us, turn around, I said, I don't know what these symbols mean. He goes, oh, it's the two bloodlines, the American bloodline and the African bloodline. Funny enough, there is a mountain in northern Nigeria, and the mountain is I just realized it's a Native American Apache. It's a Native American Apache with an African Bantu pygmy carved into a mountain in Nigeria. And these mountains have been telling me a long time that the African DNA and the Native American DNA are one. And there are mountains to prove it. And the goats came up, greeted us, blocked the exit, the only passage down the mountain, blocked it until we acknowledged them. Am I lying?
No, exactly how you're telling the story. I was there.
Yep, that's literally what happened. Now, that's Hueco tanks. Now we're going to tell you the other mountain experience. Rob, is it too late or can you go some more? Because I know you're probably tired.
We've been going about an hour and 12 minutes. I have maybe like 15, 20 more minutes if that's okay. I don't know if you could. Will you be able to do it, or do you want to do a part two?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two because we have to let the people know about the portals, the gates. I mean, this is a whole other side to these areas, and that needs a whole other. I have the pictures, everything, where we went into an enchanted forest. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I mean, I decided to go a part two because it was just phenomenal. It was an awesome experience to go out there with Renetta. And at this point, we acknowledge that together we were able to experience this unique events. So we had to plan another field trip later on. So which was more interesting, if that makes any sense, than actually this story from the first trip that we take to the mountains, right?
This one was you have to watch part two. We have to do a part two. I wish we could do a part two tomorrow, but part two is where we go into why people disappear, why it's important to learn how to read mountains, why it's important to no trespassing signs means no trespassing because they anyway, why we were all the two of them were actually connected. Hueco tanks was connected to this too, why the ancestors will test you, why there are portals, These portals these mountains are not what people think they are. If you go into, and I'll wrap up with this. If you go into the desert and you encounter a forest in a desert, you're going to want to watch part 2. If you ever encounter a forest in a desert, we want to teach you, not I, but we want to teach you what you should do and how you should navigate this situation, preferably not go in there. But, part 2 is about portals, gates, ant beings, Anunnaki, stargates, and an enchanted forest and forest creatures, and lessons, life and death lessons that these mountains will teach you. They will teach you. Yeah. Go ahead, Baba.
Yes, part 2 is should be filled with all this type of information that should be very important when people are exploring um uncharted places for themselves.
Can we
So
do it next week? Can we? You want to do it next week? If you guys are around next week, I can do it next week, like next same
Yeah.
time next Friday.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm
yeah,
free. Yeah, I'm free. We could do it.
I think I should be available. Yeah.
Yeah. Andromeda wrote something really quickly. Oasis plays tricks. There are beings
Yep.
called the jinn.
Wow. Makes sense.
Do you know that to be true?
Oh, I lived through one with you. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, Baba, tell them. Okay, so you did 2 mountain excursions with me.
Yeah.
How was your experience?
It was just mind blowing. Just mind blowing. I had some prior experience with the desert myself. I do ayahuasca retreats in the deserts, and I recently started listening to the desert and communicating with the wind. So when I went with Rainetta and we both hear the wind, uh, it was a trait that I started to listen to it just barely. So I had no prior experience with anyone else. Just going through this types of supernatural experiences with the beings of the desert and nature, and just having those experiences with Renetta just blew my mind. The first time I have encountered someone that is able to also teach me about how to listen and how to see the creatures and the spirits that are living in these places. So I've been a very humble learning with Renetta this information.
Yes, and also tell them, just give them a little taste of when the gates open, what it does to the highway you're driving on, and what it does to the human body. That the mountains begin to know when you're coming close to them.
You start feeling the pull of the energetic pool. You start your body might experience very weird sensations. Uh, Depending on that energy, could be very loving, could be also very sexual energy that you experience. Uh, I mean, I didn't believe it until I experienced with Renetta. So I can vouch for that because we did feel it, we did saw it, and I did experience it head on. So yes, you do feel the energy pull. You do feel the weird, different sensations in your body as well.
And the underlying, and this is why I need to teach people so less people disappear in these mountains. The underlying feeling that when we went out there was love. It was a love that was so powerful. It was so strong. I mean, you know, can you get your flute and I would love for you to take us out with your flute because
Sure.
he does a magical flute. But there's a powerful love energy when the mountains know, when one mountain recognizes you, listen carefully, when one tree recognizes you, when one drop of water recognizes you, when one cloud recognizes you, when one rock recognizes you, they all everywhere on earth recognize you. When one speck of sand recognizes you, meaning you communicate with it, it recognizes you, knows who you are. All the sand everywhere on earth recognizes you. And if they trust you, they begin to open up and reveal the secrets to you. Baba, before you play a magical flute, tell them how to reach you. Everyone knows how to reach me. Nobody cares. Yada, yada, yada. Reach me, blah, blah, blah. Black Sunrise. Go ahead.
Okay. You can find me in my Instagram, Facebook, at Bava_Mithra. Should be posting more content soon. So if you wanna follow me and ask me some questions about this very weird trip, I'll be happy to. All right. Well, I could just play a couple of tunes right now just
Yes.
to wrap up.
Yeah,
That would be
wrap us
awesome.
up with your magical flute. Sorry, really quickly. If you're into healing herbs and healing medicine, the Mayan Aztec way, tell them about that. And mushrooms
Yes.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mostly work with the toad medicine with hape and of course Mother Ayahuasca, Grandmother Ayahuasca. So I what I do is I guide people through their journey with this ancestral medicines, and I help them energetically get through whatever they need to get through. So, if people feel the need that they might need a tool to help them through their depression, anxiety, trauma, this could be a good way to help them through that. So,
That's amazing. It's amazing.
yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So, I mean, if there's anything, Rob, you want to say, Baba could go and he can play his magic flute before we fly
I
out
was
on
just
a
going to say
magical
thank you
ride.
guys so much for doing this. This was amazing. I can't wait for part two. You guys really found something special in these mountains, and everybody knows where to find me too. Everybody that watches my channel watches your channel, and vice versa. So it's great that both people support both our channels, and it's really great. We had a good turnout tonight. We had like 90 people watching between both channels. I think we have like 90 watching now. So
Okay.
it's great, and yeah, look forward to it next week, guys. Friday, 9 p.m.
Rob,
Eastern. We're gonna do part two. And
Rob, give him a minute to play the flute before you click out. Okay?
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you
and
can
that's
close
it.
out, give
That's
him
all
a
I had to
minute.
say.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
All right,
Baba.
guys.
Rob, you're the best. Love you. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you for much for having us tonight.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank
That
you
was
so much.
amazing.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys all next week. Thank you, guys. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Rainetta. Thank you, Baba Mithra. Thank you. I'm going to follow you on Instagram now, too. Thank you. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Love you guys. Thank you.